If your motivation is tied to when your commission checks land, I can tell you, you'll never last long enough in this business to make it far enough for the real ones to truly matter. All right, everybody, it is Darren Langille once again, and welcome back to another Re-Education Experience podcast in this new rebooted format. I hope you are loving it. Today, the name I've given this is called Fall in Love with the Seeds, Not the Harvest. How to trust the work before it truly pays off. Now, if you've been with me so far through this journey, we've gone through a lot of stuff, you guys. We've gone through the 7 C's. You've spent time now building a business that is truly intentional, right? It's aligned with who you are. And what I'm going to suggest, you're finally in a position to make some sustainable business happen. You've clarified who you are, how you want to show up every day, and what your business should look like long term. I hope you feel just more powerful than ever before. But even when you have all of this, you guys, when you have all of this, here's what still starts to happen in this business. You start taking action, and like I've shared before, you're little Johnny and you're starting to move. And you're starting to move, and you're starting to make those steps over and over and over again. And yet, the results though that we're looking for, that present for all the effort at the end, just doesn't seem to show up. You're like, where is it? This is where we're going to enter. Instead of just this kind of easy, I've just jumped up into the momentum stretch. This is where I believe there's a really hard stretch in our business, a hard stretch in your journey. That's the part where we're doing all the things right, but none of it feels like it's working. This is what today's episode is all about. All right. I want to give you guys a personal story about this. It's actually a personal story to do with my son. And if you followed any of my social media posts, back in late January, I made a post that was probably one of the most impactful posts I've done yet to date. And it was me being a bad father. And I was posting about an event that my son went to swimming. And this was called the Winter Festivals. Well, after the Winter Festivals, this is what happens. We are now in a position that we are now in meet season once again, meaning swim meet season. But for the last 3 months since that bad dad post, where I felt he didn't do as well as he could, for 3 months, my son has been training nonstop, right? They're doing 4,000, 5,000 meters per session in the pool. The kid's only 11. Kicks, arm only, kick only, combinations, early mornings, dive practice, late nights, but no races, no times, no scoreboard at all to judge how he's doing. He's just back in the pool doing the laps. Then now season has started. And guess what? Now's the time we're tracking things and seeing the results. Every single race, dive goes in, clock at the end, personal best, next stroke, personal best, long course, short course, personal best. The work had been working, but with no scoreboard, even along the way, we couldn't see it. And this is a good analogy for us about the silent grind required, the why for this episode, that real estate for us is actually no different. See, most agents never make it to what I'm calling his race day, as per Bentley's story. Most of us, we embark on that journey, but we don't make it far enough to see the rewards because it's difficult. It's that silent grind that's needed even though nothing has shown up. See, what happens is agents will get to this point and they haven't realized any results yet. So they switch the strategy. They go back to the book. They say, well, this didn't work. And they don't go yet. And they just get discouraged and they try to shortcut the process. They look for that quick trip, that hack, that something, because they haven't learned yet to trust the seeds that they planted that just haven't truly shown up yet. So this episode is about learning to trust the work long before it shows up, you guys, into, well, our bank accounts. So the what. I want to give you the what around this so that you can understand where I'm going. If we're in this business and we're only here tracking closings, income, awards, what you're doing is you're chasing the results that you can't control. But when you track the effort, right, the silent grind, the right effort, you start to build trust in your process. Trust to continue. Wow, still nothing shows up until a point way into the future. So let me give you 2 words: leading indicator, lagging indicator. Leading and lagging. Lagging, this is an indicator about results. That personal best Bentley got in the 50-meter butterfly for 11 years and under. That's a result, okay? For us in this business, it's income, right? In bank account. It's things like closings on the board. It's like number of testimonials received, right? It's things like awards I got to put on the shelf, right? It's social proof, meaning like a listing on the market, right? These are all lagging indicator results. Get it? The flip side, though, is what's called a leading indicator, right? The goal of this podcast is to have us falling in love with the right thing, not the wrong thing, because I know it will be that hard stretch I talk about. The results always feel good, but we can't just be chasing that feel good. We have to be chasing something else. And that is the leading indicator efforts, you guys. So what would these be? All right, this would be conversations that we start, right? Real estate ones. Real estate convos we start. This could be things like follow-up convos we did, right? Controllable. Right? This could be offers we sent versus just accepted and closings later. This could be appointments booked, right? These are all front end of the funnel activities. This could be, if we're going kind of Brian Buffini style and revenue for life, it's notes sent, right? These are all things on the forefront. They don't feel as rewarding. I get it, because they're just in the moment, but they're the true source of our long-term business that I need us to understand. The biggest metaphor I could find that could paint this picture for us was something that awes me to death. I love pandas. Pandas are the cutest things on the planet. I gotta tell you, I missed them when they came to Calgary and then they went back to China. The metaphor I want you to think about is the good old bamboo tree. Now, the bamboo tree, if you don't know this, we need to water this damn tree and this seed, it's in the ground, for 4 full years before whatever's growing underground starts to pop up and you see anything. 4 years of growth. But after that, after it does crack through, it sprouts. And it sprouts, I've been told, upwards of 90 feet in 6 weeks. The bamboo tree. If this is not the best metaphor for you, I don't know what is, right? The growth was never sudden. It was hidden the whole time. But then when it came through, boom, right? Personal best. All right. So I'm going to give you today, in this episode, in this reframe to fall in love with the right thing, meaning love on the leading, not the lagging, my friends. 3 tools to help you trust this process, to trust the seeds you're planting, or at least understand, are you even planting enough? All right, the first one, you guys, is called a daily tracker. All right, the first thing I want to talk about is the daily tracker. Now that you understand that the leading indicators are the things that we should be tracking versus just thinking about the results that you made, here's how I put into practice to do it. Now, I didn't make this thing up myself, and I can tell you, for those of you that follow the Rome journey with me, where we come in and do these live trainings, I'm going to have the tracker that I use specifically, and I'm going to have it in there for you to download and work through. The second thing I'm going to walk you through, I'm also going to have for you that you can log in and download and play with. So again, the tools I'm going to provide you in this podcast episode as an overarching thing, but if you join me inside Rome, we're going to go way deeper. So I used to print off this tracker for my agents, put it into a coil binder, and then give it to them. I remember when I ran this sales team there's 8 of us, and I give them this thing. And the goal was, when they're building their journey and learning how to sell and prospect, planting the seeds, they would fill one of these out for every single day, right? The agents that did it the most, I can tell you, achieved the most. They just did, right? So at the top, put their name, put the date, right? And then they would put their number of conversations per day goal. All right. And they would write it there so it's visible. Right. The second one was number of appointments per week goal. Again, what is it? This is what they would fill out. And then, just like a giant list, it was a thing that looked like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and it went all the way down, I think, to about 100 is what I had it. And the way we had it is it was a simple visual for us that as we're making our attempts to have real estate conversations per day, that you would do a few things. You would put an X if you called them, but you had no answer. Now you don't have to follow this legend, right? You put a 0, right? You'd circle it like woohoo, right? We called and they answered. And then once they've answered, we had to learn what status are there. So we would highlight two things. We'd have a yellow highlighter on it if the lead, if we secured them as a lead, and then we put a green highlighter. And again, you can use whatever you want, that the secured, the coveted appointment. And this is what it would look like. On the sheet itself, you guys, I put this thing, and maybe it sounds corny, but I believed it. I am an appointment setting machine. I wanted people to be in this mindset, right? I set at least one appointment per day. Regardless of people's income goals, I wanted them to at least chase that. Even though there's very few people in this business that secure an appointment every single day, that would be well into the $1 million plus range. And I don't need you to have that goal if that's not your goal. At the very end, I would ask two questions. Did I reach my prospecting goal? Simple. And then I would leave a few spots because I wanted to think about the journey to say, did I? Yes. Amazing. And there's probably some context. Did I? No. But then why? Why didn't I? Did I get distracted? Did I not shut off my notifications? Did I, who knows? Whatever that is, you're going to know. And then the final one was, what lessons did I learn that I can apply tomorrow? While you're fresh out of a prospecting session, you guys, and if you've actually attempted to go out and have those seed-based conversations and continue to drop it in even though no results are happening, if you ask yourself these two questions, you could see how quickly, like compounding interest, but instead of compounding interest monthly or weekly or annually, it was compounding daily, meaning you could compound your learning and tweaking by the day. Don't you think you'll get so much better about this journey? At the very end of this, you guys, I had a little sheet that just asked them to compound everything together. And it would be number of hours prospected. How did I do? Total of attempts I took, meaning like I dialed 80 people. I DM'd 40 people. I knocked 120 doors, right? Number of real estate conversations, right? How many did I have? How many leads did I create? And how many appointments did I book? If you had this visibility into your business every single day, do you believe you could fall in love with the right thing? Meaning the effort that you are taking versus the results that aren't, of course, coming yet based on the journey. And I'm just going to suggest that this is what changes people. This is what's been proven. Now, back when I was first learning this business and I had my coach Bill Pipes inside the Tom Ferry organization, they brought up a sales industry, research that Xerox did. And Xerox is known for its sales reps. Like it was door to door for a while and then other things. But the top performing sales reps back in the 80s when it was door to door, what they found is the best reps didn't track the deals that they won. They tracked the calls and the attempts they made. This was the single thing that distinguished the top producers and those who were nowhere near chasing the top of their sales group, right? Most agents only track when things are going well, but the real magic, the stabilizer happens when you track during the slow seasons, because this is when you can offset the realtor roller coaster I've talked about many times. You'd be surprised if you track it during the slow and the good, you can really get a sense for the flow of your business and the trajectory that it's going to be. Okay, you guys, that is number one. Okay, this brings me to number two. I call this the pre-annual tracker. I brought this up together and I built it back when I was running my sales team for the first time. Why did I do this? Because the team would create big goals. And then out of the team goal, with a good leader, you would have set tasks that each team would play a role in achieving the goal. right? If there's 10 of us and the goal was 100 deals a year and I was going to do 30 and the team was going to do 70, well, how are they going to do the 70? It was based on X, Y, Z, A, B, C, right? But I wanted to build agents that could live beyond the opportunities I gave them, that could build their own businesses. So I developed a pre-annual tracker to reverse engineer the process, to help them reverse engineer their income goal into daily number of conversations so that when they put it on the tracker, they knew what they were chasing every single day. But this is based on their own personal journey. And if you join me in Rome, I'm going to give you this downloadable. You can have this. It's a Google Sheet that you can play with and hopefully go back to over and over and over and over again. So let's dive into it. The premise of this is to take the income goal all the way into those number of combos you need and the number of appointments. But this is meant to not be generic. This is meant to be specific exactly as much as we can using math and data to apply it to your business. So let me walk you through the things that if you join Rome, why you'd be excited to jump into this, and you can build for yourself or use for yourself and not have to build it from scratch. The things that matter to me about your business that you need to understand is your average sale price, okay? Because that's going to matter how much commission, the total income. But you also need to know your average commission rate, because every one of us charges different rates. If you're discounting and that's what you do a ton, your average is going to be lower. I need you to adjust for this, right? If you are able to charge a premium, let's put it in there, okay? I also want you to know and put in the tracker your take-home split, because every brokerage out there has a different split and you get less, right? If you're doing this and you're on a team, well, your take-home split in this scenario will be your brokerage cost plus your team leader expense, right? What you're paying to the broker or to your team leader. And then in there, you also want to track your brokerage costs, because sometimes there's a monthly fee on top of things. Sometimes there's a deal fee on top of things. And I want you to get this all under into the modeler. The other thing is every one of you are in a different state, different province, different country. And if we want to be real about setting you up to hammer the right amount of new real estate conversations and appointments, it also matters how much the good old tax man takes from you. The tax man, because if you're in state A versus state B and province A versus prov B, you're going to get less take-home dollars. And I need you to understand that. So I actually include the income tax that you pay so that we know how much is going to be pulled away from your bank account every single month. So in that, we're going to go through a few things, because on our journey to understand, do you have enough conversations happening daily to hit the goal? We need to think about a few things, and they're all dependent about your experience as well as the marketplace. So there is 3 other factors that I adjust based on to derive your conversation specificity, meaning how many you need. The first one I like to talk about is the appointment show rate. So this changes based on lead source, friends. So if you do a whole bunch of online lead generation and you book the appointment and you're like, yes, but you know when you go to show up, there is a reasonable amount of no-show rates when you come to that type of business. But if you are a revenue for life agent doing a lot of referrals, it's pretty rare that someone's fully ghosting you. And when you book an appointment through a warm lead, that they don't show up. So this percentage will be different based on lead source. And I adjust for it, right? The other one is the appointment to client ratio. So what I mean by this now is it's kind of like your closing rate. When you go to a listing appointment, how many people pick you? If you went to 10 recently, did 5 pick you to work with you? Did 8, right? Or if you look back to your average, when you go to a buyer appointment, did you find that 8 of the 10 pick you, 4 out of the 10? That's a ratio, because we need more at-bats and more appointments if those ratios are worse. Does that make sense? And we want to factor that into your effort, because if I factor it too low, you don't take enough effort, by the end of the year, you're going to be off your goals. And this whole process, this daily tracking won't be as helpful as it could be. And then the last one is this percentage of clients, right? So they picked you now, become closings. This is an interesting one. In a seller's market, most of your clients that go through this whole journey likely will sell because the market's hot. If it's a buyer's market, I know when I started my business, 40% of the listings I took would sell. The market was awful. So if I only based the but but I needed 10 because there was a drop off, 60% of these listings never sold, I would be underselling the effort and I would nowhere near hit my goal. So I want you to know that those are things that I factor into my tracker so that I can give this to you inside of Rome. At the end of the day, you're going to go through this process. You're going to come up, the tax man's going to take the money, the brokerage is going to be set aside, and it's going to come up with your personal number of conversations you need and number of appointments you have per week. And those are the things you're going to put into the tracker. This is, again, working on the leading end of this business. This is where we need you to fall in love, know it, so that you can just march, and don't be that agent that pulls your seeds up and goes and redirects, because you just need to keep going for long enough to make sure you find your happy place and get the results that you need, right? The third one I think I would talk to you guys about is just how you track. So a lot of brokerages will reward you for money earned in the month, right? So the top 10s, the top 50s, right? You see this all over the place. I think this is a huge miss. I would suggest, if you're a team leader or if you've got any ability or some clout within your brokerage, to track and to be rewarded based on firmed deals, not paid deals. That's what we do at Redline, because I want to honor the leading indicator efforts. So when we do a top 10 every month, it's based on who firmed the most business this month now, not just what random amount of money you made in your bank account this month, which might have been from a deal 12 months ago, 4 months ago, or a week ago. So that's my suggestion, right? What we know is income is unpredictable at the end of the day, because when you're going to get paid is different per deal. You can't control when your client's actually going to close. But we can control things like offers written, deals firms. They tell you if what you're doing is working, no matter what the market looks like, and then the delays that come from your different clients. All right, so those are 3 things that I wanted to walk you through. As I was doing this, I was thinking back to the journey coaching agents, and I was like, man, oh man, there's a lot of excuses that come up when I try to get agents to slow down and to go through this process, right? One of the things I would hear a ton would be this. I've heard the term, and you hear this kind of like old school mentality. If you're not closing, you're not producing. Now, of course, if you don't have money coming in, it's easy to say that, or an old school agent might say this to you, but the truth here is, if you're going to follow the journey I'm talking about and fall in love with the leading indicators, you are producing something. It might not be the results yet. You're producing conversations. You're building trust every day. You're nurturing people. You're doing the leading indicator elements, right? You're laying the tracks for results that will come 30, 60, 90, 120, 1 year away. Closings are just the receipt, you guys, for work that you've already done to do all that seeding to get them there. I always say, by the time we're in that process of doing the work with clients, that's the easy part. It's the easy part. It's the fun part. Okay? So myth number 1, hopefully I can bust that. Myth number 2 is you can't predict success in real estate, Darren. And people come to me all the time because they say, this business, I've been doing this so long, it's so random. And I'm like a numbers guy, and they see my spreadsheet and they don't like this concept because they say it's just too unpredictable. But the truth, you guys, it is. See, real estate, this isn't a slot machine, you guys. It's actually a numbers game. If you don't know what to expect, it's likely because you've never tracked what leads up to a win, right? A great example of this would be people that say, I do a lot of business from my sphere, but they have no idea, completely random, how they got there. We reverse engineer, we find out the things that they do to stay top of mind. Those are the things we focus on, right? Tracking lead indicators gives you the predictability, and that's what gives you this power that the results will come, the power to stay consistent and go through the 7 C's that we've talked about together. All right. Last one I wanted to give you as a myth is, it's probably more prevalent now than I've ever seen it, and it's probably getting worse, and I don't see it changing. And myth 3 is all this concept of just post more, you guys. Just post more. That's how people get to know us. And I hate it, because posting more in today's environment is not going to give you the same power that truly going after leading indicator activities. Social media will build your brand awareness, 100%, but it's not going to create client conversations all the time. You got to go out and get those. Those are active, right? Posts might get a little attention, but it's the conversations that will finally convert and create this commission. So again, are you going out and get it, or are you just posting and saying you've done enough for the day? We use content to nurture and to support the pipeline, the efforts you're making, not to replace it, you guys. But so many agents are forgetting about this. So those are kind of the 3 myths that I would kind of just, from my coaching experience, I wanted to share. As we almost finish this up, when I talk about my little Bentley, my little swimmer, I got to look at the greatest of all swimmers, Michael Phelps, as a reference point to kind of drive this point home. Phelps, again, between Olympics, 4 years, they would train 6 hours a day, no applause. He would train, and then he would end up racing a couple minutes per year. And that's when he would see the scoreboard and the results, right? His success wasn't showing up big every single day. It was just showing up consistently so that he knew when he got there on race day, it was all just going to come together as you'd expect. So as I wrap this episode, you guys, the reframe I want you to think about is, what if your scorecard, right? What if your scoreboard now wasn't just in dollars, but it was more about effort you put out? What if we reframe things that way? Would you feel differently? What if the seed you plant today is your win for 60 days from now? How about that reframe? What if the seed you're planting today, you just plant and book as a win for 60, 90 days out, and you can feel that power and that confidence versus doing it and you're not seeing the results yet and feeling awful about it? What if we finally stop chasing success stories and started building your own, 1 rep at a time? It's not just the success story, but it's the 1 rep by 1 rep, the baby step by baby step that you put in every day. See, the game isn't won by waiting. The game is won by watering the seeds before they sprout, you guys, before they sprout. So today, I hope this helps you transition out of the 7 C's and kind of opens the conversation about, well, what now? And that we're going to focus more on what the title was of this episode, which was fall in love with the seeding, not the harvest, because it's going to be so exciting to think about the results by building this incredible 7 C's framework into your business, but we know it's not going to come right away. So for Rome this week, we're going to dive deeper into this. So if you haven't joined yet, just go to reeducation.school, and that's how you get into Rome. It's the only thing I'm offering. It's completely free. And we're going to help you track the right things. You're going to get the daily tracker. You're going to get the pre-annual planning tool. And we're going to give you a way to rewire and give you the go forward next steps to make sure you are falling in love with the right thing. And I hope this helped you get clarification and give you another bit of kind of like push as you get out the door and start going. Thanks again for listening, watching, and we'll see you on the inside.